Chrissy, we do a lot of estate planning for people, wills, trusts, and helping them to avoid probate. And we're all about keeping it simple. Most of our clients can use simple tools to avoid probate. So, for example, making their bank accounts POD, payable on death, avoids probate on bank accounts. We use a ladybird deed to avoid probate on their home. And we consider a trust to be a complicated tool for avoiding probate, but a trust can certainly be the proper tool for avoiding probate in certain situations. And one was what Paul had talked about earlier, and that is Paul is trying to, he's got multiple beneficiaries, and he wants to leave his bank accounts unequally to his beneficiaries.
Correct.
And that's we tell people, if you've got multiple beneficiaries, if you've got 5 or 10 beneficiaries, nieces and nephews, and leaving things unequally to them, sometimes we move into a living trust to do that, to avoid probate for that client.
Exactly. And those are very good reasons, Tom, what you just said, because that's where it does come down to, even though a trust is a more complicated tool, in the total picture of your estate planning, a trust can actually simplify things if you have a lot of beneficiaries.
Yeah. So that would be one reason. If you've got a lot of different beneficiaries, we might be moving to a trust. If you own real estate in another state outside the state of Florida, that would be a reason to use a living trust.
Yes.
If you've got young beneficiaries, if your children or grandchildren are under the age of 25 and you're including them in your estate, that would be a good reason to use a living trust. And folks, again, we're all about helping people to avoid probate. If you're confused about, hey, should I be using simple tools to avoid probate? Should I be using a living trust to avoid probate? Here at the Olson Law Group, any of the lawyers here, we can help you quickly figure that out.
Exactly. And Tom, another one, which I know we do deal with this quite often, is that there may be some beneficiaries that you do not want them to get it outright for whatever the reason. And it's very common, and I know that our clients are happy to hear that, for example, if they're leaving it to 5 people and only one of those beneficiaries, they want it to be held and not get it outright, the other 4, even with the trust, we can make sure that the other 4 beneficiaries get their share immediately, but yet it may be that that one beneficiary, theirs is held over a period of time.
Yeah, if you've got a child or grandchild or other beneficiary that they have alcohol issues, addiction issues, if they're a spendthrift, those would be reasons to use living trust so that they do not get their share outright.
Correct.
Their share is doled out to them over a number of years, possibly over the rest of their lifetime.
Correct. Yes, but a trust is the vehicle for that.
Yes.
And it doesn't tie up the money for the other beneficiaries.
Yeah, and by the way, when we're talking about a trust, everybody's talking about the same thing, a revocable living trust. Revocable means that everything that we do for you can be changed right up to the moment of your death. Nothing that we do for you is written in stone.
Correct.
Chrissy, I've had a couple times recently where it was not the kids that were the issues, it was the spouse of the kids.
Right.
And so like they're literally, telling me, Tom, if my son is still married to that woman when we pass away, then his share is going to be held in this trust until he divorces her someday. And I'm not recommending that to people, but they're telling me that that's the way they want it written. And I find that pretty extreme. But if that's the way they want it, that's the way we're going to do it.
Yes, and you're right. We do that for people. The key is that we are able to put more detailed instructions that a client wants, and that can go in a trust. And that's a reason for a trust also, is because they want what you just described. That's what we would call very specific detailed instructions, and you can only do that type of instruction within a trust. You cannot do that in a will.
Yeah, we can put all the ifs, ands, and buts you want into in that living
Correct.
trust. And by the way, if you've got 3 kids and one of them is a spendthrift, for example, and you want his share held in trust and doled out to him over a number of years, and you said, okay, I'm going to make my oldest son the trustee over that child's money when I pass away, and our trust is going to say, okay, oldest son, give the other child as much as he needs. That can create a conflict between the successor
Correct.
trustee and his sibling now.
Correct.
So we come up with some different options that might say, okay, give them $1,000 a month until it's all gone. Give them $2,000 a month until it's all gone. Give it to them in 10 equal annual installments or
Exactly.
20 equal annual installments, or
Exactly.
hold on to it until he retires. So
Right.
these are all options, and is again, it's about being detailed about how you want that money doled out to your spendthrift child or the child with addiction or alcohol issues. And the more detailed you can make it, the easier it's going to be for your successor trustee to do that job for you when you pass away.
Exactly. You're trying to make it as simple as possible for the person in charge,
Yes.
which is that title is called successor trustee, as well as each of the beneficiaries within. And that's why you're taking the time and effort to do this.
And remember that if in that situation your successor trustee does not have to give money directly to your spendthrift child or your child with addiction issues, they can instead pay the rent directly to the landlord, or pay the
Exactly.
mortgage directly to the
Correct.
mortgage company, pay the phone bill direct, pay the car payment direct, pay the automobile insurance direct. Just do everything that they need to do to keep a roof over the head of this child that's got issues and problems.
Correct.
And then
Yes.
give them a little allowance on top of that for grocery money.
Yes, but you're right. That what you just also described is great. What you just explained, because it's that type of detail that is what can be done if your family situation requires more instruction and more detail, Tom, like you were describing. Then a revocable living trust is the tool for you.
Now, there are some people out there right now listening right now saying, oh, gosh, I've got a child with alcohol or addiction issues. I'm so embarrassed about this. I'd be embarrassed to tell anybody about it. I'd be embarrassed to tell the lawyer about it. Folks, do not be embarrassed.
No.
You are not alone.
That's right.
As many people as we see on a
That's
day-to-day
correct.
basis, there is a good percentage of parents out
Correct.
there that are having the very same issues and concerns that you are.
Correct. And thank you again, Tom, for speaking those words, because I tell my clients or prospective clients that every time. And when I meet with them, the very first thing I say is, do not be concerned about telling me about this. I want to hear, I want to help you, and I want you to understand that the number one reason why we do this trust for people is because they have the same situation. You're it's very, very common, and we only want to help you. So do not be embarrassed or concerned about talking to any one of the lawyers in our office about that. Obviously, everything is completely confidential, but more importantly, we understand and we are here to help you. Do not be embarrassed.
And the other thing I would say that somebody listening out there that has this issue and is heartbreaking and takes a toll on the entire family, and that is that as much as we've run into this, we've also run into plenty of situations where the kids had these issues and they've turned it around. They've come back. I mean, we do estate planning for somebody that's got
Exactly.
alcohol or addiction issues, and 5 years later, mom and dad come back and say, he kicked it. He's stayed sober. So it's there is always that possibility.
Absolutely, and that's a blessing. And then we're happy to amend it.
Yeah, but then we amend it.
We can amend it and now say that that child gets their share outright. So when that does happen, again, if you write it, you just know that you can always change it. And so if things get better with that child, which is absolutely a wonderful, absolutely a blessing, just know that we are happy again to tweak that wording so that now that child can get their share outright. And again, that's all part of what we're doing. But you had a peace of mind that it was in place. But if things change for the better, we can change it.
Now, sometimes when we hear that story about how kids have come back around and kicked these addiction issues, what goes along with that is that, hey, Tom, we did the tough love thing. Kicked
Right.
him out of the house,
Mm-hmm.
didn't give him a dime. You're on your own. We're not
Exactly.
helping you
Exactly.
anymore. We're not going to enable you.
Correct.
And that can be so hard for parents, but sometimes it is absolutely the right thing to do kids got to hit the bottom before they can bring themselves back up.
That's right. And many times that tough love is what turns it around.
I'm,
You
I'm
know,
not
it's
saying it's right for you, listener out there right now, but I'm
no, but
saying
many times this is especially our experience from dealing with so many parents out there, that's where our basis of information, we're not doctors, we're not medical doctors, but where we are coming from is, one, we want to help you and your family, and number two, we come from a very, very strong and really wide foundation of helping other families, and that in turn helps us to help others.
right.
That's because we do help them, and so many, it makes it easier for us to help other families.